Today, we're breaking down one of the boldest gambles in recent sports history, how the Rajasthan Royals backed themselves into a corner at the IPL auction, and whether their plan to get out of it is pure genius or, a disaster waiting to happen.
Okay, let's start with a number. 16.05 crore rupees. This isn't just a figure on a spreadsheet. You could say it's the ghost that's going to haunt every single decision the Rajasthan Royals make at the upcoming IPL auction.
So what is that number? Well, it's their entire budget. And to put that into perspective for you, that is the fourth tightest purse in the whole league. And believe me, it has an incredible amount of heavy lifting to do. And if you think that's tough, check this out. 9. They have to fill 9 empty roster spots with that tiny budget. It's a challenge that honestly looks almost impossible on the surface. So the big question is, how did a team that was a top contender just a couple seasons ago end up in a spot like this? Well, it all started with one single, seismic decision that sent shockwaves right through the league. All right, so here's how we're going to unpack this whole thing. We'll start with that shocking trade, then we'll dive into the cold, hard logic that was behind it. After that, we'll look at the new core they're trying to build, what their mission is for the auction, and finally, we'll explore the high-stakes scenarios that could literally make or break their season. Okay, first up, a shocking trade. We have to unpack the move that started this whole domino effect. You really can't understand the gamble they're taking without getting the sheer scale of what happened when the Royals parted ways with their captain, Sanju Samson. You've got to understand, Samson wasn't just another player. For 11 seasons, he was the Rajasthan Royals. He was their captain, their all-time leading run scorer, the face of the franchise for millions of fans. He was the cornerstone. So why on earth would they trade a guy like that? Well, that brings us to the logic behind the gamble. And the answer wasn't personal, it was all structural. It had nothing to do with his performance, but everything to do with a fundamental flaw in the team's design. You see, this was the problem hiding in plain sight for years. The team just didn't have those genuine, multi-phase all-rounders, the guys who can impact the game with both bat and ball. And that quiet little weakness became a deafening roar during their awful 9th-place finish last season. And this is where you see the cold, hard math behind it all. They traded one superstar, Samson, at 18 crore for 2 elite multi-skilled players, Jadeja and Curran, for a combined 16.4 crore. At the end of the day, they chose squad balance and flexibility over the fan favorite to fix that huge structural problem. So let's move on to building a new core, because this trade had consequences, and it totally changed the team's blueprint. This wasn't just swapping players, it was a complete philosophical reset. The new plan starts with a young Indian first batting core. They've basically put all their faith in explosive talent like Jaiswal and Vaibhav Suryavanshi, who, by the way, smashed the fastest IPL century by an Indian just last season. This is a clear bet on a brand new generation to carry them forward. But honestly, if you want to know what's really going on, you have to look at who they let go. By releasing overseas spinners like Wanindu Hasaranga and Mahesh Theekshana, they completely dismantled their entire spin attack. They committed to a total reset, focusing on domestic talent and much, much clearer roles. Which brings us to their mission for the December 16th auction in Abu Dhabi, and it's nothing short of a surgical strike. They have 3 massive holes to fill and, as we know, almost no money to do it with. And just to really get a sense of the pressure they're under, look at the money. Their 16.05 crore budget is absolutely dwarfed by their rivals. I mean, KKR is walking into that auction with over 64 crore to spend. It is not a level playing field. So, with that tiny bit of cash, they've got 3 huge non-negotiable gaps. First, they need an Indian wrist spinner to lead their attack. Second, a reliable Indian finisher. And third, quality pace backup for the often injured Jofra Archer. They have to fill these gaps. No ifs, ands, or buts. So, how do they actually pull this off at the auction table? Let's talk about the high-stakes scenarios. We're going to get into the actual names and the tough choices they're probably weighing up right now. So, the number one crisis, the biggest problem they have to solve, is spin. They desperately need a wrist spinner to control the middle overs, especially at their home ground in Jaipur. The problem is, the perfect guy for the job might be completely out of their price range. And this is the dilemma, right? They could go all in on their dream player, Ravi Bishnoi. He's the perfect fix. But He's projected to cost nearly their entire purse. So the more pragmatic, and let's be honest, likely target is Rahul Chahar. He's a reliable alternative who would let them keep some precious funds for their other needs. And to fill those other gaps, well, they're going to have to become master bargain hunters. They'll be looking for high-value players like finisher Abhinav Mahor or pacer Akashdeep, guys who can make a real contribution without breaking what's left of the bank. So when you put it all together, what's the most probable strategy? It's going to be a disciplined, balanced build. They'll likely spend about half their budget on a spinner like Rahul Chahar and then use the rest to carefully plug their other holes. Overspending on one big star just isn't an option. And just when you think it can't get any more complicated, there's another layer to all this. Samson's exit has left a massive leadership vacuum. And while Riyan Parag has captained before, the team is quietly grooming the young, tactically sharp Dhruv Jurel as the long-term successor. It's just another complex transition they have to manage behind the scenes. Which brings us to what it all boils down to. The Royals are famous for their analytical approach, for finding value where other teams don't look. So the ultimate question is, can they turn this severe financial constraint into a strategic strength, force themselves into making smarter, more efficient choices? At the end of the day, the takeaway is this. The auction won't define Rajasthan's season on its own, but any missteps they make could absolutely define its failure. Their success is going to depend entirely on precision and discipline because for the Rajasthan Royals this year, the margin for error is zero.